Holy Northern Dominance! You didn't see that. I definitely clicked the wrong thing at the opening here. This is Flight Check, Season 5, Episode 6. We're back once again talking all things FlyQuest and LTA. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes. To my left, and only my left tonight, the inevitable Nox War. Curly QQ out for the evening, taking a chill pill this night. But we are here, unlike LTA South, who is no longer present or among us anymore.
Curly's just gone in solidarity for LTA South.
That's what it is.
He's given him a moment, very respectful of him, and we appreciate your sacrifice, Curly.
Yes. He linked his soul to the soul of... He did a soul link with LTA South, and as soon as they vacated the premises, he said to himself, yeah, no, I just can't do Flight Check anymore. You know, it's just too painful.
Jose Dioto lost one last time, and he said, I can't go on.
Right.
And,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know what? I get it. I felt horrible after watching him lose to TL.
Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I say interesting weekend of games, but maybe not in the traditional sense of like, oh, these were really exciting and invigorating games to watch, but more in the, you know, that old press conference clip. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Herm Edwards, but the one that's like, they are who we thought they were, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. we basically had him clocked from the very beginning.
Yeah, they are who we thought they were. I mean, that's kind of like, and it's not. I'm not trying to punch down on LTA South, but this basically went according to schedule. Like this went according to what pretty much everybody assumed would be the case in terms of the results. I think some people were a little bit more, like I saw some folks with 100 Thieves in Pain, and I even recall last week we were saying that like if there's opportunity for upsets, it would be Pain and Isurus Estral against Liquid. And I haven't seen any of the matches besides the FlyQuest one, but Isurus Estral did take a game off of Liquid. So folks were kind of right in that sense, but I mean, Nox, my concern here already, and I think we'll get into this with format and some other stuff, but like, we might as well have just kept the LTA North teams in America and, just let them play, some best of threes in like, in a semifinal matchup. I mean, this didn't really like reveal anything to us in terms of like, all right, yeah, we know now Team Liquid is better than Cloud9. It's like, okay, no, we just know the North is better than the South. Like, what did we learn from this, really?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like LTA South power levels, like we did learn that the Latin American teams, or actually I shouldn't even say Latin American teams because I think Leviathan kind of, granted, I think they also had the hardest matchup, so it's hard to tell a little bit.
Matchups were not great.
At least Isurus Estral, I thought actually put up a respectable showing. Granted, it was against a very floundering Team Liquid, but
right.
I think there's actual potential for that team, right? And so, yeah, I completely agree with you. It felt like a giant waste of time and money for a lot of these northern teams to fly all the way down to Brazil, and I mean, you have like players getting like having slurs thrown at them, like per Vulcan's interview at the end of the Cloud9 match, like that, like that's not cool, man. Like no. I don't know. I the one thing I've always had a lot of respect for in the Brazilian community is how passionate they are, but like
right.
That's not part of the passion that is okay, and that's not stuff that I want to see our players dealing with. And that's not even things that I want to see Southern players dealing with too. No player deserves to have a slur thrown at them,
No, yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I don't think it was worth it at all. I saw some viewership numbers getting tossed around from Arsh on Twitter, which
I saw the same
obviously
thing.
Is not an official source, but I mean, it's still something to look at and something to consider as we wait for the official numbers to come out. And the numbers for LTA North have not been good, and the LTA South numbers, while not bad, for an international tournament, so to speak, of like northern versus southern teams meeting, was not very good overall in general, and it's very worrisome also because Brazilian fans historically, and hopefully I'm proven wrong here going into the next week, don't typically tend to show up to international tournaments when their teams are not there. You can kind of actually look at 2016 MSI a little bit after the play-in stage ended. The crowd actually had a hard time getting filled up a little bit, and then a lot of tournaments that have been held for CS:GO and CS2, same thing. Their stadiums have not been filled to the brim. So I hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the Southern teams continue to come out and show support. I know, especially I think FlyQuest and Team Liquid are probably the two big teams to cheer for down there. FlyQuest partially because Bwipo has been very outgoing, obviously as he always does, and Team Liquid because they have a lot of branding in Brazilian teams over the past few years in Brazil, so they kind of have a
Right.
foothold on the scene as it is. So maybe with those two combined, it might still turn out okay. But for the time being, I'm actually kind of worried that the actual crowd is not going to show up, and the numbers are going to just continue to drop, and no one's going to tune in. And it's just like, man, this is a bad look.
Yeah, I am inclined to agree. Yeah, especially the like when you compare crowds to like European crowds, especially, there is just such an overwhelming presence from those fans that continue to show up even when their teams are knocked out. Like they're there just to see good teams play, right? And I would even say like that happened in North America. Like if you look at Worlds a couple years ago, right? I remember when I went, and it was still it was still group stage format and whatnot that year, but like there was a ton of audience support for non North American teams, and I think that was in large part due to maybe like a student population from Korea and or China that was present, in New York City, so a very like large presence of potential fans for those teams. But like those people showed up. There is that opportunity. I just don't know if there is that same opportunity. I do recall seeing in the crowd during pictures or after the game, there were FlyQuest fans actually in attendance, wearing jerseys and whatnot. So, there is, hopefully some chance that folks will come out. I mean, they don't have like a huge arena to fill. Like this is not going to be like a 5-10,000 person arena that they're looking to fill.
True.
It's just the LTA South studio down there. So I don't see like I don't see it being a good chance that it's like an empty arena this weekend, right? I'm sure they'll still pack it out. Um, just between endemic fans of, there's probably Cloud9 fans down there, Team Liquid fans. We know there's FlyQuest fans as well, but also folks who are just like, hey, I never get to see these players. Like I want to watch Whippo, I want to watch Inspired. Probably there will be some draw for some of the Europeans that are, especially on FlyQuest. I would also say even Cloud9 with like Sven. Seems like he's a character that the Brazilian community could get behind. So maybe there'll be a little kinder on this weekend. Is it Saturday or Sunday that the games are happening?
It'll be Saturday and Sunday. You'll have both
Oh,
semifinal
yeah, of
matches on
course.
Saturday, and then the best of five on
Best of
Sunday.
five on a Sunday. Yeah, that makes sense. So hopefully this weekend will, it'll still be a pretty, decent crowd size. But I think, like, my concern, that I think is a more broad concern, is I don't know, and I think maybe I guess this is the good segue to get into it. We'll go back and kind of review the matches in a brief look later, but I don't know right now if this format has been successful, and the what's a struggle for me is it's like, okay, you change one result, right? Like let's say Isurus beats Team Liquid, right? Um, then all of a sudden it's Isurus versus Cloud9 in that semi. And I think at that point you can say like, okay, yeah, this was worth it. Like the number one team, made it through. Like they beat the number four, northern seed. Okay, they can compete, right? Like they can come to play and whatnot. But on the other hand, you have three 2-0s, right? You have um, the, I mean, and ultimately you have like the number four northern seed beating the number one southern seed. Uh, you had 100 Thieves beating last year's Brazilian representatives to the world stage in Pain Gaming. Um, Fly beat Leviathan game one pretty handily. Game two a bit more of a fiesta at times, but still was pretty dominant. And then Cloud9 Loud, again, a 2-0 for that team. So I guess my question is like, what did we learn from this tournament? What have we learned from this format? And like, is it worth it to do this kind of thing? And I think especially, you want to look at like, if we're running this back next year, like what was even the point of any of this? To learn that the northern teams are better? Well, we knew that already. Like we've just known that. And so now you've got these four northern teams playing in, a random arena in Brazil with no real home crowd to back them up or, show them any support. In fact, like you said, in some cases getting slurs shouted at them, during interviews. Like, I cannot imagine this is a great environment for them to be, playing, right? And I'm sure they'll lock in on the day, and I'm sure they want to go to first stand. I'm sure that's the goal here. But like, when basketball Twitter loves to use this term, they call something like a Mickey Mouse championship. Like back when
Oh yeah,
back when
this is during the COVID bubble, the
yeah,
bubble tournament.
the COVID bubble NBA Finals, and they called that the Mickey Mouse Championship. Like this feels like the Mickey Mouse Championship to me, where it's like, does this really even count? Like okay, sure, somebody's gonna win the Split One championship on Sunday. I don't really care.
I saw Yamato Cannon on Twitter arguing that like the Golden Road, right, where it's like you win
Yes, I
spring,
saw this
win
discussion.
MSI. And so what Yamato was saying is that this first split is just so inconsistent with all the other splits that are going on in terms
Right.
of format. On top of that, just like some teams are doing, or like some, I guess they're all doing Fearless. I guess China's even doing Fearless, is
Yeah,
my understanding.
everyone is doing Fearless this split.
But
Yeah.
even the playoffs are so inconsistent and not aligned with each other that it's just like there's no point in trying to get it to count towards Golden Road, because
Right.
even then it's only a 5-team tournament in Korea, and like that's just not even a legitimate tournament really
No.
at that point. And so no, a lot, like I think a lot of people are just kind of considering this as like a bunk split, and I'm kind of agree with them in general. And this, I know I've already ranted about this, and I won't really go into too deep about it, but this really should have just been a like ultra fast mega tournament. Like you get it done in like 2 weeks. You play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you can do like actual semifinals and finals on like that next Saturday, Sunday. You have a week off, and then you have like a quick tournament in Korea if you really want to do that still with like 10 teams. I know it like kind of so to speak like interrupts with what the vibes of MSI are, because that's also supposed to be a 10-team tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just quit trying to make this a split. Quit trying to make this a like a winter split or a season or whatever you want to call it. Just make it a tournament, man. Make it an IEM style, an IPL style tournament. Just make it super fast. Make it hype. Make it a reason players and viewers want to be interested in it. You go. You bang it out, and then it's like, okay, now we'll get into our normal like league, and then
Yeah.
you'll do your normal season. You'll have your double round robin best of ones, which whatever, but at least it's still like an actual league at that point. and you can kind of continue out through the rest of the season until you go to MSI. You do it again for summer, and you go to Worlds. I think that's a great setup. I
Yeah.
think you have like a it's like a lock-in tournament, so to speak. I really think a lock-in tournament would be awesome.
Well, so I mean, speaking of lock-in, back in 2023, Valorant did that, where
And I thought it was sick.
it was
Sorry,
sick.
continue, explain. Yeah,
No,
explain
yeah,
it.
I
Sorry.
mean, this was like they brought every team from Americas, every team from EMEA, and every team from Pacific, plus the top two, like two Chinese teams. China was still
Up and
newer
coming.
newer to Valorant at the time and did not. I think that was their first. That might have been the first year that they established even a pro scene in China.
Yep. Correct.
So they had a 32 team bracket. And yes, was it a little weird because like it was single elim and like teams would they flew to Sao Paulo and they could get 2-0'd and then their tournament would be over? Yes. At the same time, like you know what's around the corner in 2 weeks in traditional sports? It's March Madness, right? That is a
Yeah.
64 team single elimination bracket, a 68, sorry, actually, because you've got the play-ins. Um, and it has been that way for decades now, and nobody complains. If you like get into the tournament, you're just happy to be there, right? Like to refer to a friend of the show's school, you're the University of Vermont, and you win your conference championship. You're just happy to show up, and be that 14 seed, and maybe have a shot at upsetting a three. You're just happy to show up.
I mean that was me with University of North Texas back in I think
Right.
it was 2019. They upset Purdue in the first round,
Yeah.
and they got I think they got clapped by Villanova the next round. But hey, man, we took down Purdue. I was flipping excited. It was great.
Yeah, it's great. And then this this lock in, like the winning region, which was Fnatic that year, received an extra slot at the first Masters tournament of the season. Like I could totally see something where the winning region of like a lock in, type thing then receives an extra slot at MSI. I don't actually know what the deal is for the winner of first stand if they get like an extra slot for their yeah, winning
Uh,
region gets a second
yeah,
direct spot in the bracket stage and gets to skip play-ins entirely, um,
and that's for MSI.
and that's for MSI. So
Okay.
there's no like extra slot. Your region just gets to skip play-ins, basically. Is what it is. Which I guess if you presume it's going to be Korea and or China winning first stand, I guess that makes sense. That one of those regions gets to skip play-ins. That seems reasonable.
That's
Um,
fair. That's fair enough. Yeah.
right. So, but you talked about some of the other regions, and like going back to your whole Golden Road, question about this, the just the whole year long format and whatnot. Like LCK's uh, format for this first split was so convoluted. So,
Oh, dude.
like,
Yeah.
if you guys haven't
Just
seen this, they split the 10 team league into two groups of five. Teams played against every team from the opposite group once in a series of best of threes. The group with more series wins, so basically you were trying to work together with your group to beat the other group more, became the winners group, and the other group became the losers group. I won't try to get into like how convoluted then like the seeding thing was, but basically if you did really well in your winners group, you automatically went to playoffs. Top four teams from losers and bottom two from winners went to like a play-in then, and like the bottom team from losers was eliminated. So like you did all these best of threes, and then like one team got knocked out. So then you had like six teams trying to qualify for like two more playoff spots. Or sorry, five teams trying to. No, it was still six. 6 teams trying to qualify for two more playoffs, three more playoff spots. Um, and it's been interesting because then like uh, I have seen one thing where it's like now Nongshim Red Force has actually managed to scrape their way to top four, where they beat DRX and then KT Rolster. And so now they actually get to go up against Gen G
Genji.
Thursday morning, which good luck to them on that one. But like T1 got knocked out by HLE in the first round of playoffs. And so just like this incredibly convoluted split and playoff system just to pick like one winner that's going to this 5-person tournament or 5-team tournament. LPL, like they've got 16 teams. They had like a whole group thing where everyone played single round robin within group best of fives. And now they're on to playoffs, which is like top 8. And it just feels like so many games, so much work just to send like one team to this first stand thing. Which I feel like you could make the argument it looks a lot like what MSI used to look like, which is like it's 6 teams. But even then, MSI was like NA, EU, Korea, China, and LMS all auto qualified for main stage, and then you would have the international wild card for the 6th slot, right? So you would have something happen. But again, it was just like 6 teams at this, MSI, and over time people were like, we need more teams at MSI, and that's why now it's like a 16-team tournament ultimately, or whatever it is, 12 teams, something like that. But it just seems so convoluted in the other regions to get us down. I mean, Europe stuck with this exact same format that they had last year, you know,
Which no one liked in the first place
which
either.
no one liked. Do 9 best of ones, and then top 8 go to bracket stage, and I mean, I think it might be a little interesting over there just because now you've got G2 versus KC, which will be fun for sure. But like, I all that to say, I look at all those formats and I can see where they make sense for those regions. But then I look at what the intent is here with LTA, and it's like, cool. 4 North American teams in the semis. We knew that. We knew that was happening. And I just don't see where, like, there should be or could be really any excitement for, the split one playoffs in LTA, where it's just kind of like, okay, we played 4 best of 3s against the South. We won them all, which was basically the prediction from pretty much everyone. And now here we are. Now we get to do the bracket that we literally just did, 2 weeks ago. We just get to do it all over again with slightly different matchups. So I'm just not sure where to take it from here. Like, what is next for LTA? I mean, I just feel like we're going to see the same thing happen in Split 2. We're just going to get a bunch of best of ones in LTA. They're going to come, I guess they're coming up here for the Split 2.
Well, split 2, they don't come up at all. It's completely domestic play only.
Oh, there's not even like a championship or anything.
No, the split 3 they will come back up to. They'll come up to LA for that third and final spot because the winner of LTA South and winner of LTA North
go to MSI. Right. We don't even get to MSI spots.
To Worlds.
Oh,
for
yes.
Split 3.
Yeah.
And then the third spot will be decided by like the remaining teams. Like it's the top 3, I think,
for
top remaining 3
for Split 3.
For summer.
Yeah, and then for Split 2, it's just like one team from the north and one team from the south.
Yeah, and that's it.
And it's just like
it just sucks.
Like, clearly, none of those teams can really, like, except for Isurus maybe, we're able to scratch the north, and they're guaranteed to send somebody, to MSI, and guaranteed to send somebody to Worlds. Like, am I just like? I feel like I'm beating the dead horse at this point, but it's like, am I overhyping how good the North is compared to the South, or is it help me out here?
No, I mean, you're not overhyping. You look at what happened this past weekend. You see 2-0. I mean, granted, Pain Gaming made it kind of close against 100 Thieves, but that's just because I think 100 Thieves is an extremely scrappy team, and Pain Gaming is an extremely scrappy team, and that series was always destined to be very coin flippy and very bloody, which very entertaining. So that was cool. But then you look at the other two 2-0s and you look at it and say, okay, yeah, FlyQuest completely crushed Leviathan, the number 2 South seed. And you look at Cloud9, who crushed Loud, who was the number 3 South seed, and it wasn't even close. And then the only thing that was actually kind of close was a very much obviously struggling Team Liquid versus the number 1 team from the LTA South. And even still, Team Liquid ended up taking him out because partially the South cannot draft properly. They had horrible drafts all split this whole tournament, I thought, in my opinion. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it at all. But they can't draft or anything, and it's just like, man, Team Liquid was playing terribly, but because they at least have coaches who know how to do a proper draft, it's just the game plays itself and they can still win. So, yeah, no, there's no amount of overhyping. It's just a straight fact. The North is better than the South, and it's not close currently, unfortunately.
Right.
Now, if Bwipo continues to sit down in Brazil and teach all these players how to play properly and learn how to actually do macro, who's to say what happens next year, right?
Right.
But
Right.
for the time being, no, there's no hype. I'm not excited to have to do this again in summer whenever Brazilian teams are going to come up here and they're taking away our slot for Worlds. That is right. Let's be honest, rightfully deserves to go to like one of our teams, and it's just going to suck watching them take the world stage and go, that could be a North American team that could be going right now, and they're getting thumped by all these other teams, and it just feels bad.
Right.
So it sucks.
And how often have we seen moments where the North American runner-up inexplicably outperforms the 1 seed from North America, right? Like, in many years past, Cloud9, the number 3 seed at Worlds, would do better than the All-Star TSM team, right? I think about the fateful 06 TSM and how much better, all the other NA teams did, at that Worlds, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
you're not getting the Magic NA 3rd seed run.
yeah,
You're getting the classic Southern number 2 seed from America's region crash out. And well, I guess technically we will. If we end up having only one North American team representing us at Worlds, I'm going to be very shocked. But I guess technically we still have the 3rd seed Magic run possibility because that 3rd seed will probably be a North American team.
I just would be so shocked if an LTA North team lost to an LTA South team, even in a best of 5. And think about this. You look then at split 3. That's not going to be fearless draft, right? That's going to be normal draft, 5 bans per side. And that's, when an LTA North team can really stick to their comfort. And outperform. I mean, I look at it was on the broadcast. I forget which player it was. Might have been. I think it was Adilan actually said in his interview. He was just talking about how he admitted that compared to the North, the South teams have just no macro whatsoever, and so the North teams are just able to out macro in so many little ways and get so many advantages in that way. I mean, I think you just look at game 1 of FlyQuest versus Leviathan. At 9 minutes, we were up 2k gold. And that was purely off of laning. I don't think there was like a single... I don't think there might have been 1 kill, maybe? But like, you don't get a 2k gold lead off of 1 kill, right?
It was some Korea versus North America season 4 vibes for sure.
It looked like it. Like, Bwipo was up 40 CS at the 10-minute mark. Like, that's just... And was... Like, we were all... Like, every player was up a level, right? And like, Bwipo was pushing level 8 while Zofte was still... He had just hit 6. Right? Like, these are things that, like, and everyone knows it, like, if that's happening to you in solo queue, it becomes impossible to play the game, right? Like there's just so little you can do at some point. So I'm concerned for, and I think this actually goes back to what you mentioned earlier about viewership stuff. I am concerned for people's interest and viewership in future North versus South matches when everyone's just going to be like, yep, we just expect the North to win, not even going to bother watching. I'll wait till next week when the actual matches are starting. And again, I'm not trying to punch down on the South here. Like, I think the matches are interesting to me. Like, I want to watch them. I do. I have. I went back and watched the FlyQuest one mainly because I had to do it for the show. But, um, but like, I think they are interesting. I do want to watch them because it does provide an opportunity to see like another region play. But am I
It's still
learning?
international
It's
play.
still international play, but am I learning anything? Not really. Like I didn't learn anything crazy about FlyQuest. That I feel like I couldn't have learned. In an LTA North matchup.
Yeah, I'm completely aligned with you, dude.
Yeah,
I'm hoping, because obviously everything's in stone at this point. I'm hoping that next year what ends up happening is Riot comes out and says, "Hey,
we
we
messed
did all
up.
these things. We like. I just admit that you messed up. Admit that it was a bad call. And I'm willing to even forgive you for that. Like because you're just trying to rebrand and everything. But you've got to actually come out with a better format, like one that is actually going to be good. Otherwise, I think you're pretty much just dumping the entire LoL esports ecosystem down the drain, and all you're going to be left with at that point is a floundering European scene, which is kind of on the way out, and two very much isolated Chinese and Korean scenes that will survive on their own because obviously that's just how their cultures are.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just going to die. Like APAC is currently like drowning. Like there's no more like any regional diversity really. It's still just
It's
Taiwan,
it's
the
such an
Taiwanese teams dominating
uninteresting
everyone else.
region. Like you've got Chiefs. Like the lone Oceania representative, and they're like barely scratching these other teams.
Yep. And then you're going to have North American teams that are going to be no longer pulling viewership because no one here in North America has any reason to really want to watch anymore. The format sucks. All their old favorite players are gone now. There's no tier two scene that can bring up new players that are actually like super interesting. There's
Right.
a whole bunch of thing that's like
Tier
wrong with
two
North
doesn't
America
start for
right
another
now.
month and a half, basically.
Yeah. And
It's
then obviously on top of that, I mean, you're still going to have the CBLOL scene, the Brazil scene that's going to be passionate, but like again, if this continues the way that it is, where it's like these North American teams are dominating over the South, then Riot's going to make the decision, oh, well, they don't deserve the spot. And then it's once again, you just have the Brazilian teams completely isolated by themselves with their own fan base. And it's
yeah.
just like, there's no way to grow this stuff, man. You guys start coming up with better formats. So just apologize and actually come out with a better format for next year, and you might be able to save this whole shebang. But like right now, like the viewership's looking rough across like the global board.
Yeah. Well, what you have to do, I think, and not have to, and my fear would be that this like is just like a like putting a band-aid over the break in the dam, right? But um, expanding worlds would be big. So like putting, I don't know, 24 teams in the Swiss stage, something crazy like that, or even like 20 teams. You give like, how about something where Korea, China, EU, APAC, they all get like another seed, and then for America, you give them two more. And now hear me out. You give them like two more. The first two are guaranteed for the North. You have one that's guaranteed for the South, and then you have two more that are like up for grabs between North and South. And then you're like, sure, do you wind up sending five teams from the North and South combined? Yes, but like if I'm looking at um, what Worlds is supposed to be, this year, like you'd have four Korea, four China, four EMEA, four Asia Pacific guaranteed, and then you wind up getting like maybe like another Korea, another China, or like another America, another EMEA somewhere from there, like during plans. So basically, you just like up the number of teams that are invited to internationals. Um, Increase the number of teams at internationals. Make it double elim, in the bracket stage. Just do it, Riot, and like just have more games. And I know, like, yes, there's costs and whatnot. It's not like they aren't farming the Gasha whales, that are consuming cosmetics, for this game between Valorant, TFT, and League. The skins are crazy. I think I just saw there's another like $250 Gasha skin for some champion that came out. Like I have a hard time, you know, saying like, oh yeah, they couldn't like punch another four teams tickets to Worlds or to like the bracket stage or to the Swiss stage, um, and it would absolutely sink the company's bottom line. Like I'm pretty sure they could get another four teams into the Swiss stage, get some more opportunities for teams to come through, and I don't know, would that save you know the LTA format? I don't know, but it would certainly provide more incentive, or like more opportunities for teams to make it through. Um,
Yeah.
do you? I mean, I don't think that's enough, but like, do you think that would help at all?
I mean, in some ways, yes. In other ways, I don't think it'll ever happen, just because the amount of people or the amount of money that's required to send all those teams to those tournaments, teams aren't like Riot's not going to pay for whatever. It's just unfortunately by Riot standards,
I
it's
mean,
just
sure.
yeah. But don't get me wrong. Yes, the whole thing absolutely that would bring viewership in. I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would be
yeah.
great. I
Right.
would love it.
Just more teams, right? Just put more
Just
teams.
just more teams. Seriously, just that's all you need. Yeah, just more international competition. It just sucks because it's like, yeah, I love the fact that this tournament happened. I love the fact that we got to see the North versus the South. It's just the context in which this happened was like not good. Like if you're going to do this, the way it needs to be done is it needs to be pretty much all eight teams. You have number one seed from South versus the number 8 seed from North, and so on and so forth, and you just work your way up. And the whole thing's double elimination. It's all best of 3. It's practically an international bracket, so to speak, or an IPL 5, whatever you want to call it. And like there you go. That's how it should have been done, and it should have been done in 2 weeks.
Well,
That's all it needs to be.
well, what you could do is like now they've got and I'm looking forward to seeing what the update is, but the Amazon, I believe it's Amazon, global esports power rankings, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah, we could even do that if you want. If you want to pull it from there, that like
well,
why
just
else do
like
we have that?
seed, like don't do a domestic split, or like a domestic North and domestic South, but like seed 1 through 8 North America based off of the power rankings, seed 1 through 8 South America based off of the power rankings, 1 versus 8, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, etc., and then just go. Do a double elim, do best of threes. You can knock those out real fast, and that's the tournament, and that happens like over a month, or so a month and a half, right? And like, yeah, again, yes. Do you get some teams that got knocked out right away? Yeah, but guess what? That happened in the domestic split anyway. Disguised got knocked out after two best of threes. Lion got knocked out after two best of threes. So like, what's the difference? And then you're right away you're getting interesting stuff, because it's like, cool. We watched LTA North weeks 1 through 3. Awesome. Some interesting matchups. We had some cool stuff where 100 Thieves upset TL and Cloud9 upset FlyQuest. Cool. Now we got to go to the South, and then we just beat these bad teams, and now we're just going to flip flop the matches around, and now 100 Thieves has to beat FlyQuest, and Cloud9 has to beat Team Liquid, and then the winners of that are become the champion. Like, why couldn't we just have had 100 Thieves and Cloud9 battle it out for, uh, who gets to go to first stand, right? Now we've got to like do it all over again, right? And there just wound up being no point. to any of it. I think that's what's frustrating for me, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm repeating myself at this point. So we can move
All
forward
right, I
with
was
it.
gonna say you want to just move on to highlighting FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves this coming
Yeah,
weekend.
let's talk about preview semis. Fly versus 100. Like God, it's like talking about LTA North all over again, right? Like nothing changed.
I
um,
mean, we'll just say the branding color turned gray for some reason, and we'll just still call it LTA North.
yeah, exactly. All right, so Fly versus 100. I actually think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I'm excited about this. It sucks so hard that it is another best of three. Um, like, uh, not to do another format rant. They should have done Friday, Saturday, Sunday, best of fives. That's what they should have done. They should have
Yeah.
done best of five Friday, best of five Saturday, or even like Thursday, Friday, best of fives, and then like a Sunday finals best of five is what they should have done, realistically. Anyway, um, so I mean, I'm excited. I think 100 Thieves showed a lot of good versus TL, and then they beat Cloud9. Um, I haven't watched their match versus Pain, but they won, so it couldn't have been too terrible. I don't know if you were able to catch any highlights of it or anything. So, like, what are you? Are you worried about 100 Thieves? Are you excited about this matchup? How are you feeling about it?
I think the big thing I'm really eyeballing is Quad versus Quid.
My favorite
I
matchup, frankly.
I mean, it is actually yes. Like not even for name alone, but I think currently these are the two best mid laners in the LTA North right now.
Mm,
They're both insanely good, and I especially think that Quid's performance, even against Pain Gaming, like he's continuing to show that for me, he's the MVP of the split for me. Like
yeah.
I know we talked about it last week, but this man is on fire right now, and so that's probably where my eyeballs are going to be on mainly during this match is how the mid lane's going to go. Because right now, I don't think Sniper's honestly been playing too well, and Whippo's been playing solid, so I think that should kind of be fine. Inspired versus River is always a very interesting matchup, and I think that one should be kind of like just game to game variance in terms of who wants to do what. I think they're kind of both going to just keep each other checkmated or checked, however you want to call it. They're going to be even is my point. They're going to not really either they're going to flip opposite sides of the map and they're going to try and play that way, or they're going to both be meeting each other at different lane points, and then it's just going to turn into team fights at that point, which admittedly I do think kind of favors 100 Thieves. So we'll see how Inspired wants to play it, but in general I think that should be an even matchup. And then I think the bot lane in general, FBI has stepped up a lot lately, and I think Ayla has also stepped up a lot lately, but I think our bot lane specifically still has a slight advantage over them.
Mm.
But yeah, really the big thing is just Quad versus Quid, because I think Quid is just having a monster split right now, and it's really imperative, I think, that Inspired and Quad and whoever else can like put pressure on the mid lane really keeps Quid in check. I'm like having to make sure I'm saying his names right. So yeah, that's kind of my thought process right now. Is as long as we can keep Quid in check, I think Fly should still be able to take this series because I still think 100 Thieves macro is horrible. Despite the fact that there's more like objectives on the map, which in turn kind of pushes like teams to want to fight more, which is exactly what 100 Thieves excels in.
Mm.
So I think as long as 100 Thieves, or sorry, as long as FlyQuest can kind of keep Quid in check and really they continue to push the macro skills, because FlyQuest macro, as you saw versus Leviathan, still extremely good. 100 Thieves macro against Pain Gaming, not very good. I think it should still be fine. So I'm still very much favoring FlyQuest in this particular matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am too. I would agree that the Quid Quad matchup is the biggest one for me and probably the scariest one for me. Quid, I feel like, has just been otherworldly so far
Yeah,
this
he's on a
year.
tear, man.
Yeah, he's doing so freaking well. I think for me, a big part of it also comes down to the top lane matchup. I mean, you talked about Sniper, but I look at Blippo, like if he can, if he falls behind, I feel like that could be a struggle point for us, and so I just need him to stay solid and stable in lane, and get to the point where I feel that when Bwipo is stable or gets ahead early to mid, he does really really well. But if he falls behind early, that's like the struggle bus, because then oftentimes what I see from him is then he starts trying to make up for that, and he'll take the 1v3 or the 1v4 because he's like, no, I can do it. I need to like get back in this game. Um, and then that just puts him further behind and, erodes the team's ability to get back in the game, right? So I just need him to stick with the plan, and if it calls to stay under tower and scale for late, then do so. I want to see. I want him to keep busting out the unique picks. I want to see that. I want to see that Urgot. I want to see that Swain. I want to see those fun things come out. But I think it's going to be critical from him to play in a stable manner. Yeah, and I think this is an opportunity for Masu and Busio to really step up as well. Like, I do think I agree with you that FBI and Ayla have been playing well, but I still rate Masu Busio over them very much. And so I think this is a great opportunity for them to really, put a beat down on them in lane and, run this best of three through the bot lane. I think that could be a really great way to, counter what's going on in mid lane. Like, if Quad can keep it cool, not get solo boloed or anything like that, then I feel like bot lane could be a great pressure point for us to push through. But yeah, no, I think I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really great matchup. I'm very excited about it. I think I'm going to run with the 2-1 personally for FlyQuest. I have them, and I have it, if I'm going to do like the percentages, I'm going to do like the 60-40, I think. Actually, I'm going to revise it down slightly. The 59-41. How about that? I don't.
What? Wait, you got us down to the 1%.
Well, it's just like the 60 feels a little overconfident, but the 59, feels like just slightly humble enough.
You're like, it's keeping the humility in check.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
Yep. Exactly.
You know what? Fair enough. I see. I feel like I'm being cocky now when I say FlyQuest 2-0, but that's kind of what I've been thinking this whole weekend, and that's kind of what I've been thinking all day today, leading up to the show, and even now I'm still kind of thinking it. But like, you do kind of raise a good point a little bit, and so but I'm gonna stick to my guns. I will say FlyQuest 2-0. I think they should probably wrap it up. I do think 100 Thieves, just because of who they are as a team, they're going to make it extremely bloody, and it's going to be a hell of a series. But I do think it'll still be a FlyQuest 2-0, and that we'll be in the finals on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a great matchup, and FlyQuest I think will win. Let's briefly look at the TL Cloud9 one. I'm leaning Cloud9 here. I don't think TL has shown me enough so far this year. And I mean, what were you caught the highlights, I believe, of the TL Isurus game at the least. What were your takeaways from their performance? Is Umti still on the struggle bus, or are we?
Yeah, man. Umti's not looking good. Like, they were even talking about it on the broadcast a little bit, basically, about the fact that he had that tweet that went out saying like, "Hey, I may have a couple a bad best of three here, but like next week I could still be like the best player in the world." I'm just saying, man, it's one thing if you have a bad best of three, but you've had multiple bad best of threes at this point. He's not playing well, and I don't know what needs to be said to change his level of performance, but I don't think he's gonna find it in the next couple of days before his match against Cloud9, where frankly, outside of his vibe, Blabber has been looking fantastic. So yeah, I just, there's something currently right now about the fact that Umti's not playing well. APA's been extremely hit or miss. He's had some okay games, he's had some really dutter of games. Impact, I think, just like he's still playing well, man. I feel like Impact is actually kind of elo held a little bit in a
Mm,
sense, but also he's not really doing enough for Team Liquid to like find victories. He's very much like a stability piece on the team where it's like, hey, if you're winning, I will make sure that you continue winning. Like I'm going to do a lot of good things to make sure that we keep pressing our advantages. But I feel like if Team Liquid is losing, which has been the case in a lot of these games lately, it's like, well, I'm not going to make you lose any worse. I'm going to just kind of make sure I'm still doing my thing and I'm still relevant. But he's not pulling out any clutch factors that are able to really help swing the game towards Team Liquid's way. Is
mm,
like kind of the thing I want to point out.
okay.
So like Impact is still good. I still respect him. I think he's still one of the best top laners in the league currently. But he's not displaying any levels of clutchness to
Mm,
help Team Liquid pull out some of these games where his teammates are kind of failing him a little bit. I think Yeon is still playing great, believe it or not. I think he's still number 2 behind Masu, if not sometimes even number 1, because he has some great plays here and there. But that man is actually elo held. And then Core JJ is also just kind of standard stock stable.
mm-hmm.
It is what it is. So really, my eyeballs for like Team Liquid are like the mid jungle just need to get their crap together right now, man. They are struggling, especially, and if they can figure that out, I really do think they can be a threat again because I think Yeon's playing out of his mind, and Impact is still just doing his thing per normal. So if you can get everyone back on that same page again, you're gonna have the Team Liquid of 2023 back, or sorry, excuse me, 2024 back, and that's a scary team to contend with. So yeah, but for the time being, I think Blabber's playing far better. I think Loki's actually been pretty in sync with Blabber, which I mean Blabber's talked about on pros because it's not like last year where it's like him and JoJo and the 80 carry Berserker. Like
Yeah,
all three of them are talking and no one can agree on what play they want to do.
right.
This is straight up Blabber makes a call, Sven doesn't talk, and Loki just follows. Like that's all that it is.
Yeah.
It's just all the shot calling is just pure Blabber right now, and Blabber and Vulcan. So the fact that everyone's got kind of streamlined and synergized, there's no reason for me not to predict a Cloud9 2-0 on this.
No, I think that's totally fair. I think I'm feeling pretty similarly where Cloud9 just looks like the better team right now. And I'm just going based off of the eye test, right? And for me, I mean, because it's really the bulk of my analytical ability is just like the vibe, just like how things are going. But yeah, I think I'm also here on the Cloud9 train, looking at the inevitable rematch against them in the finals. So, okay, so we've both got Fly and Cloud9 heading to finals. Running it back from the semis, back up north. How are we feeling about that Sunday matchup then? If it is indeed FlyQuest Cloud9, I feel like if it's FlyQuest TL, I would still take FlyQuest. Um,
Oh yeah, I am
because
not worried about TL in any stature of
yeah,
mind. It's just they're not an issue.
even yeah, because even if it's like they fix whatever they need to fix to beat Cloud9, I don't know if it's enough to beat us. But to beat for Cloud9, I still find myself a little worried. I feel like right now they are like the true contenders to the FlyQuest crown, as evidenced by like 2 weeks ago, right? So that one, I actually don't know what way I would throw that. I would literally need to watch semis to
Yeah.
be able for me to be able to say which way I'm feeling. Like I don't know if I can make a call on it. I have to watch the semis first to be able to say.
Yeah, I'm extremely nervous for the Cloud9 match because I think their coaches are actually drafting extremely well. They're not going to let FlyQuest get comfort. And I mean, again, and I talked about this after we lost to them too, but hopefully that was a reality check for Nuke
Mm,
Duck and Mithy,
yeah.
and that they can figure out some drafts that are actually going to find success. Because I think macro wise and even gameplay wise, they're all very even. I think the thing that really cost us in that series was the drafting just went far and away in Cloud9's favor. I gushed over that Game 3 draft from Cloud9 in that match. So as long as Nuke Duck and Mithy can kind of figure out, hey, here's how we handle them in draft, and here's how we want to play the game, and so on and so forth, I think it can be okay. And I gotta have faith that FlyQuest is actually going to be able to pull it off. But no matter what going into that Cloud9 match, yeah, I 100% agree with you. It kind of comes down to how Cloud9 looks versus Team Liquid and how we look against 100 Thieves. If we look rough versus 100 Thieves, which I wouldn't be surprised that we do because it's 100 Thieves and they make everything look ugly, and then Cloud9 just slaps Team Liquid around because Team Liquid doesn't look good, I'm gonna be clenching my butt come Sunday, man. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't feel comfortable giving a prediction just yet either. I'm on the same boat with you on that one. I gotta have faith though, man. I'm hoping that they can pull it out and we can see them in Korea because the more experience these guys get on the international stage against Asian teams, the better.
Yeah. No, completely agree. So, all right. Well, that's how we're feeling about LTA playoffs coming up this weekend. FlyQuest playing on Saturday versus 100 Thieves. They'll be the first match at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, with TL Cloud9 following up at 5 o'clock. And then finals on Sunday will be 2 o'clock again. And that's the best of five. So that'll be interesting. You know what's really funny? I'm looking at the looking at Leaguepedia, and in their bracket for this thing, like they've got the icons, the logos for LTA South and North next to each team. And because the North won every single one, it just looks like Leaguepedia is like indicating like rising versus falling for North and South, which like it's appropriate, I guess, which is unfortunate. Okay, I think there was like one other thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to remember what it was. I mean, I get.
FlyQuest Red made it to the finals. I don't know.
I guess we could mention that very briefly. FlyQuest Red, who finally got announced, by the way, if you were hearing any of my rants a few weeks ago about that, finally was announced, and they didn't do too bad in the Game Changers kickoff. They wound up running it back in losers and making it to grand finals. Ironically, though, the team they lost to had a player by the name of Starbound on it.
Starbound.
So
Yep.
drop one of your better players only to get 3-0'd by them in grand finals. Just I'm not rooting against this team. I'm not rooting against the players whatsoever. I'm just still a little ticked off with the org right now for the way that they handled dropping everybody right before, right before everything. I think
Yeah.
this.
I don't know. I forget which caster said it, but there was a caster actually who on air was basically like, "Wow, so this is kind of what you get for dropping Starbound, huh, FlyQuest?" Like the
Yeah.
caster said it. It was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
think it's very accurate. Like, yeah, it's just like, man, that is super unfortunate to drop Starbound and then, yeah, slam not just once but twice. Like we got 2-1'd by this team and 3-0'd by them. Um, in
For what it's
finals.
worth, I do want to point out like the actual map scores. The 2-1 that we lost to them in the upper bracket semifinals, we won 13-6, lost 13-10, lost 13-7. That 13-7 worst one because in the grand finals
Yeah,
we lost 13-10. Then we went to 7 overtimes
yeah,
on Lotus in map 2 and lost
crazy.
19-17. And then on split we lost 13-10 again. Like these two teams, like it was a 3-0, but they're very highly contested. Like they are extremely close in skill level. They are both very, very good.
100%. And I do want to point out, like there was some crazy stuff from the lower bracket finals. Like in particular, map 2 on Fracture Bob put up 40 kills in just like
Yeah,
a 24 round map. Like
banger.
that was 13-11. Like for reference, like the next map was also 13-11. Bob only put up 29. So like that Fracture map was just absolutely crazy for them. So that was crazy. Like I think this team is going to be good. It's an odd team for me because it's like both Lace and Kara are on the team, and they both have been like on and off of FlyQuest because of like retirement like they keep like retiring and then unretiring to come in and play for FlyQuest. I have a feeling this is not the last iteration of the FlyQuest Red roster um, this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lace and Kara disappear again to be replaced by other folks before future game changer stuff happens. It, to me, my gut, and I could be wrong, I could very much be wrong. My gut tells me that this was like, well, we had Sonder and we got Bob and we got Unstable, but we still needed two more, and Lace and Kara were available, and we're happy to play competitive one last time. So, because they both have retired from competitive Val like multiple times now, so wouldn't be surprised to see that be the case. All right, I think that is finally it. That's basically all we've got on the show, unless you've got one last thing.
Yeah. No, I was unless you could remember exactly what your thing was supposed to be.
No, I think we talked about it all. You know, it was reviewing playoffs, beating Leviathan, North versus over South, and taking down the Thieves. So we got everything. Everything is tackled. We are good to go to close out. Thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of Flight Check. Another great episode in the books. It's just not like a awesome episode because there was no Curly, unfortunately. You know. So.
Unfortunately, you got to take a step down when you.
You
out for solidarity.
Yeah, like we can only do like silver medal level, episodes when there's only two of us, unfortunately. So, it is what it is. LTA semis this Saturday. FlyQuest at 2:00 versus the Thieves. Hopefully in finals the next day, also at 2:00. You're going to want to be following us on Twitter for all of our reactions and thoughts to that. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. Excuse me. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. If you missed any part of the episode, the VOD is going to be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. And if you're watching that and want to catch the show live, we do broadcast the episode live, usually, every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Nox, any shoutouts or plugs before you wrap up?
Happy birthday to our one and only community manager / marketing manager, FlyQuest, Numi. She turned 28 today, so happy birthday to her. Other than that, shout out to the Pickler for giving me and my wife 2 $275 pickleball rackets this past weekend off of a raffle, so that was pretty dope.
Nice.
And 3, shout out to my legs, because I'm sore from playing pickleball and running.
Yeah, understandable. Makes sense. All right, my shout out is going to be to, I never have these prepared. My shout out's also going to go to Numi for a happy birthday. I don't remember how old. I think maybe 28, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
28th birthday there. And then my other shout out is going to be... It's going to be Nox for spectating me playing TFT earlier. And unfortunately, I couldn't remember in the moment how to reply to his whispers while I was playing. And so, from what I understand for him, it was like that scene in Interstellar where he's Matthew McConaughey, banging on the bookshelves,
Oh, that's another good one.
Like, no, Marv! Whatever her name is. Murph.
The one I actually messaged you in the client was specifically Walter White stuck in the van in Breaking Bad, screaming as
this would be a spoiler.
Yeah.
So Matthew McConaughey yelling Murph, no. So that's gonna be my other shout out. Here's to me absolutely trolling Nox as I neglect slamming items and buying Victors and Mel's when they come across my shop. It's unfortunate.
It's okay.
But we took a third anyway.
You'll get there. You top 4, that's all that matters.
I top 4, that's all that matters. All right, we'll be back next week to talk LTA finals and I guess preview First Stand, which is wild. So for now, stay safe out there and bite your teeth. Do not forget to hit the head on the nail, and we will see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys. And in honor and solidarity with Curly, peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.